Welcome to Talk Design Podcast, the space where creativity meets conversation. I'm Adrian Ramsey, your host, and as someone deeply entrenched in the world of design, I'm thrilled to introduce you to the minds that inspire me in the hope that they will spark something special within you too. From a design past crafting women's swimwear to pushing the boundaries of performance sportswear, from mountaineering to international yachting, to implementing systematic innovation solutions that transcend boundaries in aerospace industry. My heart remains rooted in architecture and exploring the emotional tapestry woven by built spaces is my fascination. My journey in design has been what can only be described as a life of design. I want to thank you for lending me your ears. I'm eager to embark on this next episode together. And for those of you who prefer to watch and listen, you can catch this episode at YouTube. That's youtube.com/@talkdesignpodcast. My guest on Talk Design today is Jane Ledger from Jane Ledger Interiors. Now, Jane is a Perth-based interior designer who works all across the west coast of Australia. She has a fascinating background from law and corporate management to interior design. And I love these stories like this because it really opens up the path people take in life and how they bring the past pieces into it as well. Jane, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate you being here today. Let's talk design.
It's a pleasure, Adrian. I can't wait to chat.
I want to jump right into, it's a regular question of mine, but yours is going to be a different journey here. So how did you end up studying law instead of interior design at the start?
Yeah, great question. And I think so many of our journeys start in our childhood. And I know that in my childhood, it was a pretty regular childhood, to be honest, a fairly conservative family. I grew up in a pretty carefree environment here in WA, beautiful sort of lifestyle, beaches, that kind of thing. But at the same time, I felt like a lot of people feel, there were expectations on me. So I went through school in the 80s.
Yep.
And my parents worked their butts off to send all four of us children to what they considered to be a really good school that would give us the education. They valued education highly, and that was seen to be a priority in my life, was to get a good education. And I guess that's exactly what I did. And so while I was at school, I went to an all-girls school, and I grew up with this mindset at school that we were, let's say, the women of the future.
Yeah,
Go
wow.
for it. Like, just go for it. Don't hold yourself back. Do the highest degree that you can. That was the story.
What a shout out for the school. That's incredible.
I know. But also remember, in that era of the 80s, there was this feeling, and I'm not saying it was
it was all shoulder pads and big hair. What are you
well, it
talking about?
was. It was. And so do what your mothers perhaps couldn't or weren't allowed to do. So we were given, this big permission slip to go for it. Now, I'm afraid to say that along with that narrative went another narrative, which was, if you are academic, go and do something academic. And I'm very sorry to say that in a lot of cases, that didn't include creative pursuits, right? So yes, I like that you're putting a positive spin on this, and it was positive. So amidst that environment, I was counselled by people at school due to the subjects I was good at. Oh, you'd be great at law. Now, of course, in hindsight, don't agree with that at all, because I was very strong in humanities, language, debating, public speaking.
Right. Well, that's why you were going to be good at law. You were going to be good at arguing or listening.
And that's just so funny because when people think law, their minds turn to an image of a courtroom, which is just a very, very small percentage of what lawyers do. Tiny,
A
tiny,
tiny
tiny.
bit, yeah.
All right. So a lot of law in Australia is corporate law,
But
which just,
that's like with architects or interior designers, everybody thinks you sit around all day drawing pictures. It's
well,
a
and
tiny percentage of what you end up doing
I
compared to what
know,
the
I
rest of the
know.
job is.
Or we're wafting through shops, aren't we,
Yeah,
Adrian?
oh
And
yeah, yeah.
you
Spend
know,
all
and
day
we're
in
and
shops
we're
and
picking
cafes.
out cushions. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So look, I went on and I did, I guess, what was expected of me, which was to do law. And I pretty rapidly discovered that whilst I loved studying and doing all of that, it just wasn't the fit for me. So I did practice for a few years in
Yeah.
law, but because in that day, there was also this element of you should stick to what you did. So I knew I wanted to make a change.
A lifetime career.
Right.
And that came from your parents, like, somebody who had three jobs was seen as unstable, in their
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
Well, that was society as well.
Yeah.
And also this perception that people have invested time and money in your
Mm-hmm.
degree.
Mm-hmm.
So look, what did I do? Oh my God, Adrian, I didn't learn the first time, did I? What did I do? I went back and did more study. So I then went off and did a diploma in business,
Yeah.
majoring in marketing.
Yeah. Oh,
And
good.
then I went on further. It's like I was addicted to studying. And so I went on and did a master's of human resource management. So
Okay.
with those under my belt, I was then able to go into management roles in law firms, but for better or for worse, I still stuck in that law firm environment, didn't I? Ah.
Well, like if you'd branched out from it, you probably would have still gone to a professional services type company.
Yes.
And why not law? I mean, it could have been accounting, it could have been,
Right.
any of those other professional services like, engineering or anything like that. Law is probably not the worst of them to choose if you've got to look at those sort of things.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's true. And also, it was highly regarded by other people, which
Oh, yeah.
I just found this so fascinating because I think part of the reason I got through school and did well, and also at law school, is because I just happened to be a person who knew how to pass exams, but not just
Yeah.
pass, do really well. And that's just sort of an interesting thing. When I became an HR manager, it became even more fascinating to me, this idea that people who do well at exams are therefore smart. Now, I'm not saying I'm not smart, but I would also throw it completely the other way. There are people who are not good at exams or exam technique who are extremely smart,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I just find that a little fascination about my journey.
Do you know, I think with that, it's like some people have an ear for languages and they have a brain that can segment, put the language in the right drawer, and then they can make the drawer talk to the drawer next door as well. And coming from my background where I'm dyslexic, ADHD, I knew in a parallel to that I was going to say outthink, and that's probably not true. I could disrupt and move the thinking at really rapid pace. So lots of the others couldn't keep up with that, but I couldn't do the other, like you're saying. I couldn't
Exactly.
apply that way. But if it was actually like, if you saw my marks at school, art, I never got anything that wasn't an A or an A plus. That was just a no-brainer. And then, but in say something like English, I was struggling to get a C
Yeah. Yeah.
because it,
And that
it was a
makes perfect
completely
sense.
different genre. It wasn't anything about being the spoken language. So I'd be in drama and I'd be in all those kinds of things as well, like, speech and drama and the creative pursuits of that, where I could learn it and do it, but not the writing of it out.
Yeah. No, I completely
Just
understand that. And I think what I love about the way you talk about this topic is that you know, so much of this is out in the open now.
Mm.
But back in our day,
Mm.
you know, that, and in yours, by the
Mm.
sounds of it,
Oh,
these
definitely.
skills that
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
weren't recognized, and the skills that I just happened to have, I didn't realize I had them.
Mine
You
were
know,
recognized. They were recognized that you were stupid.
yeah,
I
right. I
have
didn't want
school
to say that, but
reports.
yes,
I
that's
have
what, yeah,
school
I understand.
reports. Yep. School
I
reports
get
that
it.
say it, that actually
Yep.
say, things like if I only applied myself, there was no hope. There's all sorts of funny things in some of my school reports. I was doing a speech once, like, have you ever heard of Ignite? It's Ignite conferences. It's like, I think you speak, I can't remember. You speak for 8 minutes or something, but the slide changes every 30 seconds.
Oh, yes, yes, I
Yeah.
know exactly
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah.
So I was doing one of those and I put my school reports up and the crowd went, oh, like this. It was just like, there was a gasp and then, oh, like this. And I went, it's okay. It all turned out. It's okay. They were doing the best with what I was giving them and I wasn't giving them a lot to work with. So let's keep moving. But that
Yeah, I
was,
love it. I love it. And I think school reports can be so revealing, but also, you know, they were in such a tight little constraint, weren't they? And there were certain types of people that were considered to be this or that. And,
yeah.
you know, that's just stuff that you and I can reflect on. We understand what we're talking about. And I think for me, yes, it led me down that path. And then I just went on and I just kept studying. And I think this idea of me going back and, as I say, almost like I was addicted to
Yeah.
study,
Yeah.
right? But I said this to someone recently and they asked me, why did you go to interior design? And I said to them, when I look back, I was searching for something and I knew that that's what I was doing each time I went back to get another degree.
Oh.
But what I really think happened is, until you are doing what you really love, it will keep hunting you down. And I don't even know why that image came to my mind, but it did.
Mm.
And when I eventually did go through life, so I spent all these, what was it, close to 20 years in this corporate
Yeah.
environment,
Wow. Wow.
interior design eventually hunted me down and it got me to what I truly love and what I'm really enjoying today.
Wow. See, what a fabulous journey in the sense that, like as you say, you were every time you'd go and study again, it was because you hadn't fulfilled your promise or your purpose. Um, it might happen again, you never know.
It
Um,
might,
it
but
might.
I think you've said it really well, that
Mm.
until you find that thing, you will keep looking. Yeah.
The thing that, yeah, your soul is restless or there's that lack of fulfillment. And I think that the magic in that is, people say do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I go, no, you'll work every day in your life when you do what you
Correct.
love. Trust me.
Yep.
And you work more than every day, like
Yeah.
you,
100%.
yeah. The thing is that for a lot of it, it doesn't feel like work because of the fact that the joy comes from doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like the joy comes from it. So you accept the hard parts with ease and you celebrate the best bits. The hard parts keep you honest and make you realize you're working. That the other parts are just pure joy and you go, I can't believe how lucky how lucky I am to be in this position. When
Yeah.
you're working for somebody else or not somebody else, but when you're going and doing a job that you don't necessarily you enjoy executing, like you're a great student, a great academic, you can enjoy executing that, you can apply yourself to it, but you can also put it down.
Yeah.
But you can't put down your clients' jobs anymore. They're intrinsic to everything that happens. Whereas a lawyer, you can put a file down and you
Mm.
can go, you know what, we'll think about that on Tuesday. And maybe that is the next day you think about it. You don't try and solve the problem necessarily along the way. I know you do, because friends of mine who are lawyers are super creative, and they
Yeah,
are
well,
constantly playing the game like we do as well.
yeah, yeah,
But they
yeah,
love it. They
right.
do it because they love it.
Yeah, and I think what's so funny about what we're talking about now is that a lot of people say to me when they perhaps understand or realize a bit about my background, they go, oh gosh, okay, coming from that environment, oh, this must be so much easier, this interior design. And I don't, look, there's a number of ways I can answer that, but I'm always honest with people and I say, this job, this life that I lead is the most joyous, but it's the hardest job I've ever done in my life.
Mm-hmm. It's not because it's easy work.
It's because of the impact we can make
mm-hmm.
and the responsibilities that we feel for our clients and changing their lives. That's big.
So on that point, I want to grab that point about the impact that we can make. And one of the reasons I want to do it is I'm going to tell you a little sort of segue into it. I had a business coach who said to me, why do you do what you do? And I said, this was quite a few years ago. I said, oh, well, so a bunch of people with a whole lot of money can have a bigger ego trip in their house or whatever. And he went, well, that's a really interesting frame up, isn't it? And I went, what? And he's like, well, what else could it be that you're doing? And I'm like, oh, well, that's the outcome, but the journey is really finding out about them and really discovering what the land could be like and really, creating something for their family and stuff. And he goes, right. And what would that bring? And anyway, the conversation went on from there. But I want to go back to you with what you just said with that and go, yes, it's hard work, but it is, yes, I love it as well. And how that manifests out for your clients and what it does for them. A friend of mine,
Yeah.
Kelly van der Merwe, who's a restaurant designer, he says, form follows feeling.
Yes.
Not
Exactly.
function. It does function as well, but it follows feeling. And once we get the feeling right, now, I'll leave it to you.
No, look, that's exactly the issue, Adrian. And when we talk about impact, and I think it's one of the things why our services or what we offer can feel intangible at times. And it's because ultimately we are delivering a transformation service to people. And one of the issues with that is that people often can't see what we're doing until the end when we've done it. But the impact that I just feel so strongly about this, that design is not about a process or a structure or a thing that is imposed on people. It is a support process. It's a support mechanism for how you want your future self to feel, how you want to behave, the people you have into your house, the way you entertain, the way you live, and supporting the things that you love to do. That is what design is about. And design, and if we're talking about homes, a well-designed home will change your life.
100%.
Now, that all sounds woo-woo at
Well,
this stage, but
I'm going to
it's the
challenge a
truth.
piece of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Go. Let's do it, Adrian.
It does sound woo-woo. And then I know for a fact that it isn't. And there's even data that supports that it isn't.
Yeah.
But the piece I'm going to challenge is that design isn't imposed on us. Shitty design is imposed on us all day long. Everything that nature, I know. And this is the thing. You know that saying, the enemy of the best is the good?
Yeah.
And you think of the number, I have this thing, everything that is not designed by nature is designed by man. And we'll broaden that to humans because men get too much of a bad rap these days. But it's designed by a human. And with that, You think of the number of things that you handle on a daily basis that frustrate you, and minor irritations. It might be, unscrewing the lid on a bottle. It might be, a good example would be the number of different sets of earbuds that people have. Like I've got 4 sets on my desk for different things, because, each set of earbuds, they won't suit some people, but they will suit other people. And we will settle for so quickly. And I think of the number of things that we have that we go, oh, if it was just a bit more like this is why we have endless clients. If it was just a bit more like this, it would be better customized for me. Yet we have a world that isn't about customization. It's about repetitive action for commerce. So I think things are heavily imposed on us because we don't either have the resources or the discipline to either go without, that'd be the discipline, or to explore whether the product really does exist for us. And that usually would come back to the resources would have the effect on that, the amount of time resource, and then the financial resource to have it custom made for you, or custom, like if I said, oh, I want a custom set of earbuds, that's like that story about the Americans, they were going to space and a pen wouldn't write in space. And so they spent, I can't remember what it was, let's say it was $4 million, or it might have been $10 million, working on a pen that would write in space. And the Russians picked up a pencil and said, that seems to work fine in space. It reminds me of that kind of thing. So the Americans said, we'd like it in pen. So they spent the money and the resources, whether that was wise or not. But they advanced technology with that. They advanced innovation. They advanced all these things with spending that money. And then the Russians went, well, just put a pencil sharpener on it and just keep writing, please. So there's a track on both sides. It's often that one's made as a joke against the Americans not seeing the wood for the trees. However, the advancement that they got from doing it is probably greater than the advancement that the Soviet Union got from just using a pencil. But so when we talk about design and personalization of design, not mass-produced design, then it's not imposed on us in that sense. It's a hand in glove journey. It's a hand holding a hand journey. It's a deep decoding of humans and of their behavior and in their individual behavior.
Well, I see so many clients where designs are imposed on them. That's what you and I are all about, is unraveling some of that. So a lot of what I saw when I came into this industry and what I deal with in my practice every day are these, let's call them cookie cutter, standardized labels. You must have a 4x2. I see, when I look at a house plan, I see labels. I don't see humans. I see labels. I might see a kitchen. There might be a scullery. That's taking up a lot of room. There might be a theatre room. There might be this and that.
It's a low-use room.
Oh my gosh. And I'm just thinking, where are the humans in this? So when I'm presented with a set of house plans, usually what I'm engaged to do is to develop a set of customized interior plans to go into this house plan. Now, of course, my first task is always looking at who are the humans, what is their story, not how many rooms and what are the labels on them. To me, that is not design. That's almost anti-design. And I want to draw out the story of the humans who are going to live here, how they want to live. the things they love to do, how is that best supported by this house plan? So, of course, and I know you're the same, Adrian, we'll often be tweaking what is presented in that house plan and challenging, but I'm not doing anything until I've actually listened to the client. And I feel that this is a step that is missed a lot in our, and I'm going to call it design process in inverted commas, that we see rolled out in our industry. What I'm not seeing, and what I discovered when I came into this industry, was where is the client? I see the client a little bit, if we can imagine it like this, a little bit in a tumble dryer.
Yep.
So we open the door of the dryer, we shove a whole lot of stuff in there, and the client gets tumbled around in a building process, a council process, a
everything,
process.
financial process,
jumbled
everything.
together.
Yep.
And I don't even want us to get into the dryer until the client, me, the builder, the architect, the landscape designer, we're all standing outside of the dryer. We're not in it. And we're talking and we're listening to the client. Now, until that stage has happened, then all these labels and things don't really mean much. Yet what I see is a design being imposed on clients who, because they don't realize the opportunities or the magnitude of possibilities about the customization that you were talking about in your story, which is so important, the pencil or the pen, whatever it might be, I'm not seeing that as much as I would like to. Now, I'm not saying it's absent. Of course it's not. There's lots of us doing beautiful bespoke customization, but it's just something that I observed.
So really interestingly there, that deep understanding of, your client is, let's frame it another way. Can you tell us about your process to getting, under their skin and not making them uncomfortable, but under their skin, because it's incredibly, if it works well, it's incredibly intimate in the amount you get to know about them, understand about them, their behaviors, there's so many pieces.
There are.
You're happy to share?
Yeah, by all means. And it's a really, when I meet clients, I spend quite a lot of time talking to them because they'll ask me, what's your process? When can we start picking stuff? Right. Okay. So that's my cue to then try and pull back the process. And I'm always encouraging people to spend time, most of your time and energy and money should be spent at the start in the planning, right? Because so many of us, understandably, get preoccupied with how long the construction part of it is going to take. So when I start describing gently how my process is, a big part of it is about this briefing process. And so I kind of like to share with them that we're not diving into any shops or picking stuff until I've actually listened to you about your life. And yes, I have a format of a questionnaire. Do I use it all the time? No, because I just start talking, but it is a dedicated time. So there's no way that it's happening randomly or in snatches of time. And I'll just say to them, a big part of what you're paying me for in this upfront, because of course our service is front end loaded, isn't it? It's not happening during construction. We're not working this stuff out as we go.
No.
And I like to position it as, this is all you time. This is you time. I want you to think about it. Think about some of the questions that I've asked you. And so a briefing session for me, which is, I actually deliberately rename that to a storytelling session.
Love it.
I just think of briefcase and folders and, well, the worst thing that I think about is checklists. The design story will happen in dedicated tranches of time. And I'm pretty particular about this. So I want it to be in a really nice environment of their choosing. It might be at their dining table, all decision makers have to be there.
Yeah.
So whether it's a couple, I want you there.
Yeah.
Kids are welcome too, but
and present.
And present. And I'm asking them all sorts of questions about previous homes. What have you liked? What have you not liked? Where do you like to travel? What do you do? What do you do when you get up in the morning? What time do you get up? Who else is getting up at that time? Are you getting up alone, or is your partner doing something else? Where are the children? What are they doing? So it takes a long time, I'm not going to lie. It takes a long time.
You're trying to learn somebody's, say, 40-year history in
right.
in an
And
hour,
also,
like, or 2
well, it's
hours or
not. This is
4
the
hours
thing.
or 5 hours.
So so look, often it's two bites.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
speaking of bites, I do like food and drinks
Yeah,
and
right.
anything else that can support us, because it's a supportive environment that I want. And it's personal. And I tell people, I said, look, some of my questions may surprise you. I don't want you to be disturbed, because Adrian, here we go. You've raised it, so I'm going to
I'm up
here
for
we go. I'm we're talking sleeping habits as well, right?
Yep,
So who's
100%.
restless? Which side of the bed?
Yep.
Are you a reader? Are you not? Obviously, who's getting up early? Who's not? All of
How many
those.
night times do you pee in the night? Whatever it is. Tell
That's
me it
it.
all.
That's it. Because it's only then that I can craft what you need. So, for example, with the location of, and this is a bit of a bugbear of mine, let's call them a primary bedroom.
Oh, very American.
I know, wasn't that a quick
It
little,
wasn't a
oh my
quick little,
God.
for the US audience, that was purely for you.
Yeah, love it. I love it. So we're talking a primary bedroom, and often there's a primary bathroom. There might be some form of robe, walk-in robe, whatever. I'm really conscious of how all those spaces are interacting with each other and with you. And this is where layout just becomes so important. Now, what we often see is a primary bedroom where the bed is plonked against a wall, and you'll have a door each side. One's for the walk-in robe, one's for the primary bathroom. Yes, maybe. But what I see in house plans is that these are just plonked in because that's what they did on the last home.
Yes.
I don't see the thought and the care, and I'm going to say the love of listening. So I don't mind if you want the two doors next to the bed at all. I have no issue with that, but I want to know that it's right.
You want to know that it's going to function well for them, and, just like you were saying, the whole thing around, with how they sleep and all the rest. Sleep's such an important part of our life for our health and well-being. We should be getting, 8 hours and 6 minutes or something is the target. And with that, you go, okay, if it's that important for reducing stress and for your growth and for your health, if it's that important, how do we nurture it? And one of the things that is different ages for different clients, but let's just take young clients or younger clients who have, newborns or in growing family time. They might have one kid, say 2 or 3, and they're having another one. I always go, okay, so this house is going to last us a lot longer than, let's just say it's a 10 to 20-year project.
Yep.
Then I look at it and I go, okay, so he's going to pretend he's asleep, and she's going to get up, and he's going to say he never pretends he's asleep, but I'm a dad as well, so I've done it too. And it's one of those things that there's different role things. Women's sleeping patterns get much lighter when they've got kids, because they are actually the one who's kind of tuned DNA wise to make sure that that kid survives so that the human race goes on. So I do things like I go, they need an uninterrupted flow to get to their ensuite. They need an uninterrupted flow from the bed to get to their to the kids' bedrooms or to wherever that is. You know what? He's pretending he's asleep. He can walk around. women also have a different testosterone level from men. Because of that, their spatial awareness is affected differently from men. Men won't kick the bed every month because they have their period. They won't walk into things. Women's spatial awareness changes with their hormones through the month as well. So does men's, but not at the same degree.
Yeah.
If a guy kicks the bed, he's going to wake you up anyway, because he's going to yell and scream and be a big baby or whatever it is. And if a woman kicks the bed, she will crawl across the floor quietly until she doesn't wake somebody else up. And it's
Yeah.
so different.
Yeah.
And so understanding human behavior in general modes and then understanding them as a couple or, like that makes such a difference. And look, I've got woman couples who have got kids, and I've got men couples who have got kids. I've got men couples who don't have kids, and I've got woman who don't have kids, as well as, like our general heterosexual mix. So I find it really fascinating to see where those roles fit again.
Yes.
Because those are still somewhat, they seem to remain sort of like traditional roles. I'd like to thank Stetson Hats Australia for providing my amazing collection of open road Stetson hats. Since 1865, John B. Stetson has been crafting legendary headwear, adorning the heads of Western icons like Annie Oakley and George Custer. The open road hat debuted in 1937, beloved by artists, outlaws, presidents alike. Its timeless style fits the setting from city streets to open plains. Whether in the cab of a truck or my trusty Mini Cooper, the open road is all style. If you think hats aren't for you, you just haven't found the right one yet. Discover yours at stetsonaustralia.com or stetson.com if you're in the USA. Thanks, Stetson, for your support. Please share your Stetson moment by emailing me your photo to talkdesign@gmail.com. Let's celebrate the timeless allure of Stetson together. And then designing, when you've got the opportunity to draw the house, you're drawing this thing that you're envisaging for now, well, actually for 12 months later, because it's going to take a while to build it. You're envisaging it for that, and then you're envisaging it for the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, maybe beyond. And what will it have to do? It's such a privilege to draw it. The time taken with the client, expand their journey and mind into that space and give them those scenarios. So we did a house a few years ago, and we had this, it's got a really big lawn. It's on acreage. It's got this really big lawn. And I remember the envisaging conversation of a big marquee, a 21st, a wedding under that tree. They've got 4 kids, all these different points to them envisaging what that place would become, and then also how to lock it into being a family place beyond them and beyond their children, so it just remains in trust and just these kinds of things. Just like you're saying, when it's about hearing them and then challenging their journey, like guiding them into the future.
And I think I love that you've raised this term challenging, because I think we also know as designers that people do come to us because they've been influenced by, all these other perceptions and what have you in our industry, they will come with their own perceptions. And I think our role is to be gentle with because they're feeling their way too. They'll say something like, and I definitely want, a scullery or whatever it might be. And our role is to pause, listen. I want to understand why.
Absolutely.
I really want to understand why. And then if I feel I'm still not hearing the why here, I'm going to gently suggest, have you thought about this? Or
Mm.
because what I really want to know is, so an example I had recently was I was dealing with a couple and one was really hell-bent on a scullery, the other wasn't. And then I was thinking, why is this happening? I said, sorry, I just have to ask, who is dealing with the dishwasher in your family? And husband puts up his hand and says, it's me. I said, good. All right. So I'm going to talk to you
Did he
about
want the
something.
scullery or did he not?
Yeah. And do you know why? And this is what I loved so much. So this husband, beautiful man, bit of an introvert, he said, there are times I just need to leave the dinner party and I want to be in peace. I want to stack my dishes. He's also a very particular man. I want to stack my dishes in peace. I do not want people helping me stack a dishwasher. So he said, I can't stand it when people start packing up the dishes from your dinner table, coming out, plonking them here and there, and then they want to start helping. He said, no, that's not what I want. I want to be rinsing my dishes myself in peace. I'm stacking the dishwasher exactly how I want.
And getting time out.
Wow, he wanted time out from the dinner party.
Mm.
And so I just loved so much that he said that out loud.
Oh, me too.
And the wife is looking at him going, oh, is that why you leave? And
Exactly.
we can all relate to that feeling, can't
Yeah.
we?
Well, yeah. And then it gives her the opportunity to have her space in that conversation, gives him
Yep,
the opportunity to have his space to breathe.
right.
And he busies himself while he's doing it because he
Yes,
probably thinks it'd be really rude to go to another room. But he also knows that the task needs to be done. And that means that he can take care of it for his wife.
right.
He can
Yeah,
take care of it for himself. And he's actually giving her an opportunity to have the guest to herself. But until that conversation happens, everybody just thinks he's probably a grumpy bastard that always leaves the table at whatever time.
yeah,
And,
that's right. That's
why does
right.
he do that every time? And it's none of
Yeah,
their business why he does anyway,
yeah,
except his wife's.
that's right. But what I loved about this design when I looked at the house plans, I said, okay, I can see there's a scullery here. And I'm looking at him, so he was sort of approaching 6 foot. And I'm thinking, there is
Um,
no way that that
um,
dishwasher
yeah.
is going to pull out with enough space to actually get your body in. So
Mm-hmm.
this idea that every scullery has to have a dishwasher, it just sort of drives me a bit crazy. So we just actually did alter that design
Yep.
slightly
Sure.
so that it was more an extension of the
Of the
kitchen with
kitchen.
an archway. The scullery became more of a pantry, which I
Yep.
do like. I do like an open pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And we put it right up the end
Yep.
because people said, why is the builder said, why is the dishwasher all the way up the end there? So look, of course, I had to tell him the story
Yeah.
of the husband
Yeah.
wanting his piece. So yeah, we just changed that slightly so he could actually get his body in around the dishwasher in
But
order to load it.
those ergonomics make everything because otherwise you'd have
Right.
jammed him up and he
Yeah.
would have not got the peace of mind. And takes you right back to design isn't imposed and it's transformational.
Yes.
That could have been, you could have jammed a dishwasher in there. He could have found it absolutely bloody hopeless to use.
Yes.
And then he would have felt like he was never heard or
That's
understood.
that's right. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
instead, what you do is you've given them all empowerment.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so worth
Exactly.
the journey, isn't it?
Yeah. It sure is. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
That I see that as the most important part about what we do. I say to clients, we'll probably meet for 2 or 3 hours, and we're going to talk about a lot more than your design. And I sometimes say to them, design's pretty easy, really, but understanding you is going to be the tricky part.
Oh
And
God,
and
Adrian, you
I'll
nailed it.
tease them, I'll tease them. I'll go, you look particularly complex. And I see the size of your handbag, so that's going to be a shit fight. And they
Yeah.
look at me and I go, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah. You'll get it.
But I love that playing with them and letting them get to a point where, laughter's important and like you said before, if it's food and stuff like that that you've got them with, you're touching on the things that light them up, and you can present some food to them and go, I've never tried this before, but I thought I'd try you guys. And I know I do things like this, and they'll go, "All right," and I'll go, "So which one of you is going to eat it first?" Like, and then I'll be like, "No, seriously, I haven't tried it before, but I thought it looked really interesting, and I thought it would be fun to try it. Are you up for it? Da 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 da. I'm going to have some, whatever it is." It's part of that is exploring and seeing if they'll
Yeah.
explore with you,
Yeah.
and but it's not. It's off topic, but it's totally on subject because you're trying to learn your person.
Yeah. And then I imagine, I don't know what treats you're bringing along, but I know with some of the treats that I might bring along, you are learning something
Yeah.
every time. So you've just learned something about the people that you said,
Mm-hmm.
well, who's going to try this first?
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, one of the couple will say, oh, I'd love to try that eclair, but unfortunately I'm gluten free.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, aha, are you,
Important factor.
yeah, are you a celiac or what are you? And we
Yeah.
have a long discussion about that. And then I know that in their kitchen design, I might have to have, say, a separate nook,
Yep.
breakfast nook, whatever you call it, where there is a different toaster,
Yeah. Right.
right?
I love that. I hadn't even
Okay.
thought of that. But yes, of
Because
course.
I've had to
They
do
might be a
that.
celiac, and so then.
Yeah, right. A true celiac. And I
Mhm.
had this recently in a scullery. And I was just looking around their kitchen and I thought, why are there two toasters? There's two children, a couple. And yeah, one thing led to another. And I said, okay, we are actually now going to separate in your new design.
Yeah.
I'm going to separate those toasters.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your regime in here, and you have your
Mm-hmm.
regime over on this bench top. And these things
And,
emerge.
and then you go down a journey of discovery of how that makes it work for them, what they do with their other things. Everything starts to come together. So then are they using the kitchen at the same time? Are they using it at separate times?
Mm,
Everything about that determines size, layout, functionality,
yeah, it
and
does.
like the joy of it. Yeah. I have this thing, you know, in modern homes. I have a thing about butlers' pantries because I've only ever had one client with a butler, and otherwise
Sorry,
one of
do you call them a butler's pantry? Do
yeah,
you?
rather than a
Yeah,
scullery, yeah,
right.
butler's
Okay,
pantry when it's got everything. So it
got
would
it.
have a
Okay.
dishwasher and a sink.
Yes, yes,
Otherwise, it
understand.
might just be a pantry.
Right,
But
got it.
yeah, I've only ever had one client with a butler, and that was interesting to say the least. But with that, a butler's pantry, I sort of always challenge it. I go, cool. So, take me on a journey. Tell me how it works. What is it for? Da 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 da. Who will be there? When will they be there? What times? And I'll
Yeah,
find often couples, one will split and be working in there, a bit like your guy who was doing the dishwasher. I
yeah,
don't want to work with everybody else around me. I don't want to. I will sacrifice that. But, well, it's not the sacrifice. The sacrifice would be doing it where everybody would be.
right.
Um,
Yep.
and then that also, means that my wife, who loves to entertain, she can do all these bits, da 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 da, while I'm doing that, and then I can, come and go, and often, I could keep going on stories like this, but I often will challenge the butler's pantry because in a cost per square meter of a home, we are semi-replicating a kitchen.
Mm,
And so we're taking one of the most expensive items in a home and we're adding it again.
mm.
And we're adding floor space and we're adding more bench tops and we're adding more cabinetry. And we might
Right.
have a supermarket within 5 minutes drive. So we're not looking for fresh food.
Yeah.
We're maybe looking for some convenience, but we're often looking for space. And that separation of space, that means as a couple, they can work easier together.
Mm,
Or the kids are in there making their lunches in the morning, and you're both trying to get out the house, go to work, or whatever it is, and
mm.
then you might be looking for separation that
Yeah.
works, but without having I want to say, semi-intimate conversations with them, how do you go with that? Like, how do you get there? I want to go from there to back to the bedroom conversation, and tell me about your most interesting bedroom conversations.
Well, I mean, I don't know how far you want to take this,
All the
Adrian.
way. Go all the way. Anywhere is good. We're not putting names on anybody yet.
Okay, well, look, all right, here we go. Now, I'm talking multiple bedrooms now.
Uh-huh.
So we're getting to the truth of
Yep.
things
Mm-hmm.
with people. And I think what can happen with people, you talked about seasons of life
Mm-hmm.
before
Mm-hmm.
and how we're all going through stages.
Mm-hmm.
And so a recent conversation I had with a couple, I'm thinking this front room would be so amazing for a study. Just the way it was positioned, and I'm listening to other elements of the story. Because I have this thing about studies that I hate them being back of
Back
room
of
where
house.
you're
Yep.
facing a wall. I
Yep.
just can't bear it. If you're going to have a study, let's just make it beautiful and big and welcoming and gorgeous, where you're looking perhaps out onto the frangipani tree, and you've got some.
I do the same thing with when it's a study or a home office. I go, is this the horsepower that pays the bills around here?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is. It is. Let's find a prime spot for this. Let's
absolutely.
support it in every way possible, because
I couldn't
I'm
agree
not going to
more.
put you in the dungeon to make the money.
So as I was walking through this house, I'm thinking, oh, this room would just be so beautiful for a study. There was already a primary bedroom, right, on the other
Mm.
side. I'd already had a conversation about that, the sleeping habits. And one party to this couple kept coming back to this room. I really would love this set up as a bedroom. I'd really love this set up as a bedroom. Thinking, okay, all right. We talked about it a bit further, and I said, she goes, like the guest bedroom? I said, yep, tell me more, tell me more. So where are your relatives? Where are your children? Oh no, well look, all our kids have left home. We've got the space downstairs for them. So I'm continuing to just pause and listen. I'm thinking, hold on,
There's more.
who is this guest bedroom for? I can feel myself now dropping the word guest.
Yeah.
This is no guest bedroom.
Exactly.
This is like the second bedroom of this
Yeah.
couple, because what transpired was this and that happens, and he comes home like this or she comes home like that, different hours, and I'm in that phase of life. I'm
Yep.
mid 50s. I just want to get away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And so she wanted an entire bedroom set up for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then he then chimed in and said, I want that bedroom too. So we then had another, not argument, but a kind of a
Yeah.
really fun discussion about, and then I come back to the primary bedroom and I said, all right, so like,
What?
how is this going to be now? Do I do this in the more feminine colors or the masculine? What am I doing here? And I just really loved how we got there in the end, but they enjoyed sleeping apart. And so
Yeah.
and so it's far more common than we think, and it's far more common than people would like to admit, I feel.
Well, I think that there's a stigma around it, and it's probably from the patriarchal
Yep.
background of, and everybody's next question that's lurking in their head is, where do they have sex then?
Yeah.
It might be in the
Yeah.
kitchen.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it might be everywhere because they're not
Yep.
tied up to one bed. We've done houses where we've got two bedrooms for that
Yeah.
reason. We've
Yeah. Yeah.
certainly done bedrooms where we've got two beds
Yes.
in the
Yes.
bedroom, a
We
his
did
bed
cover
and a
that
her
in this
bed. Yeah.
discussion. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then there'll be the disruption of, their time of sleeping or,
Yeah.
snoring or whatever.
So, I don't want to listen to his wee,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
no, I don't. Yeah, I want to be in another room.
Yeah.
So
And that whole thing of understanding like that, do you know what? It's your home. It's okay.
yeah.
Don't not tell us.
Yes.
It,
And call
and
it the guest bedroom by all means. I have no
yeah,
issues with that, but we all know
exactly.
what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. And like I go down that next piece of that. So if that is your, if you've got separate bedrooms, what are you doing with the rest of the time? How often what are you using it? And I'll say to them, so, are you having sex in the shower? Where's that? Like what's happening there? And they'll be like, God, that's a really sticky question. I go, well, it's you guys.
Yeah,
Just,
exactly.
I don't need to know the details. I couldn't care less about the details. What I
Mm,
want you guys to do is think about how you're going to do it and
exactly.
guide me to make it best for you,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's going to matter, because you will be having some intimacy or sex in your life. What, how do you want that to work?
Mm,
And it might be that, you just hang on the couch and cuddle on the couch, whatever it is.
yeah.
It could be, there's all numbers of things.
Mm.
I,
Well,
I
I
had a
mean, Adrian,
client, I'm going to give you a funny example with this. I had a client who is a paraplegic and wanted a spot on the edge of the swimming pool. So wanted a swimming pool and said to me, I need like a spot on the edge of the swimming pool where I can jump out of the swimming, or not jump, but get out of the swimming pool and, like hang in the sun. And I'm like, yeah, right. So what, pull yourself out of the pool and just hang in the sun? And she's like, yeah. And I went, what? Like that, the head shake. And she said, well, it needs to be comfortable. And I said, like comfortable like cushions. And she's
stop
like,
it.
yeah, comfortable like cushions. And I said, I leant right forward to her and I said, are you banging the gardener?
Oh,
And her husband was the gardener as such. Like, so her
of course.
husband would
Yeah, yeah,
always be
yeah,
working on the land. And
yeah,
she said, oh, yeah, like being in a chair all the time, or
yeah,
being, like in a bed or in a chair constantly, swimming's my freedom. So she said,
mm,
yeah, I bang the gardener in the
yeah.
garden.
Good.
And I'm like, I love it. I
Yeah.
just so love it. I'm like, okay, so what do I need to do to make this work? So the two of us are sitting laughing. He wasn't there. He had been, and he comes in and we are roaring with laughter. And he says, what's up with you two like this? And I said, mate, don't worry about a thing. She's got your best interests at heart like this.
Yeah.
And then we're laughing our heads off again. And what did she call it? It was something like, she said, we were just designing the shagging pit, or something like that. The shagging pit at the pool, or
Mm,
something like that. It was really, and it was one of those moments, where you've gained their trust and gained their understanding, and no, not his in that point, but just where I'm doing this, I'm going to make this home, I'm going to do these things, we're going to have these things. I
yes.
don't want my own inhibitions to get in the way of telling you
Yeah.
what I need
Yeah.
here. She's not banging me, she's banging the gardener. It's like, and it's not a
Yeah.
sexual conversation, it's just an intimate conversation that
Yeah.
gets to an end point. And then we can enjoy that laughter and also go, hey, you need to be in this conversation as well.
Yeah.
This is what it's about. You
Mm,
guys, I'll give you some framework. You guys go and talk about it, and then you can come back and tell me. I don't need
mm,
to know what you're doing or going on.
mm.
I'm not, I just need to know that we're going to support you in every way possible.
Yeah. And
Um,
support is the word there, Adrian, and
mm,
trust. And you got your client there.
yeah,
And what
so
I
fun.
also love about what you've just revealed is this disruption of labels. So
Mm.
you referred to this area as a shagging pit.
Yes,
Unreal. So what I love is
I think she did it, to tell you
I'm
the truth.
imagining this, but you know what? Once you use fresh words, fresh perspectives, your
Breaks
brain,
labels.
you as the designer, you're carrying that with you into the design. Now, shagging pit,
Mhm.
so many images came to my mind. I don't know the home, but you do. And we're not talking positions here, Adrian. We're
Yeah, right.
talking
This isn't the Kama Sutra.
design. We're talking fabrics. I'm thinking shag
Yes.
pile. I'm
Yeah.
thinking whatever
Yeah.
I'm thinking doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
what I love is the fact that relabeling old labels
Yes.
is what gets us to where we need to be. So you've got a shagging pit, and I'm imagining the house plan now no longer has al fresco. How often do we see that label?
Yeah.
Boring. We've
Mm.
now got shagging pit. I'm working on a home at the moment where we, again, some ubiquitous word, I think it was activity room,
Yeah.
another
Right.
label I don't buy into. We're now calling it the Gucci room
Oh, love it.
because it's a salon style, it's got leopard wallpaper, it's got all sorts of interesting things. And that client was able to tell me the story of why. And he said to me, I fell in love with the Gucci runway show
Mm-hmm.
2021. So
Mm-hmm.
I go back, tap, tap, Gucci
Go
show
runway.
2021. And I knew exactly what he meant.
Mm-hmm.
So the walls are going to be painted sort of in this lacquered green, there's paper and salon style
Yep.
furniture. And I love that we have just very
Gucci room.
we have crossed out that hideous word activity room, and it is now called on the plan Gucci room. And now we all know what we're talking about. And I really want to
How
keep
will he use that
kind of
room?
thing.
How will they use that room?
Oh, it's like the old good room.
Yeah.
So it's like a salon, it's like a
Yeah.
salon parlor
Yeah.
style. And yeah, it's for Friday night drinks,
Yeah.
music,
Awesome. Yeah. It's like
loud,
like a
loud.
like a speakeasy almost or whatever.
Speak
Yeah.
easy. I love that word. That's
Mm.
amazing. Nightclub, part
Mm.
nightclub, Gucci, fashion forward.
Mm-hmm.
So fashion
Love it.
forward. We're not going
Love
to
it.
care what we're wearing. We're going to be a little bit outrageous in this
It's a
room.
little bit Studio 54.
A little bit. Yeah. There's going to be
So
drinks.
isn't
Yeah.
that just the most wonderful thing when you stop thinking about your home as this thing that you're going to sell in the future and it's going to be
Right.
something and
Yeah.
move it to being your home, your
Being you,
sanctuary, being
who
you.
you are,
Yeah.
who you are.
And
Yeah.
enjoying it for all those things.
Right.
I think that
But,
that's a
you know,
turning point that is so good in a client's journey. Yeah, I love it. I love
because
it.
I also want people to be thinking about who is coming into your home. Can you, like, if you were to
Yeah.
have Friday drinks in this room, who's coming? And I don't mean just people.
No, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
who
yeah,
are they? What are their
yeah,
names?
yeah,
So I know that when Chloe comes into that room, I already know who she is. She's going to have a satin slip dress on. She's going to have a fur
yeah,
over her
yeah.
shoulders, and she's going to ask for I
Dry
don't know,
martini or
a
whatever the
dry
hell it is.
martini,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
going to be there. And so it's telling stories.
It's storytelling and performance and
It is
playtime and joy and
right.
it still is it's can be relaxing, it can be all those things
Mm,
in different spaces, in a house, it's a transition of emotions.
yes.
And it's something that it led me to create a product that we use called the emotional floor plan, is exactly
Oh,
what you're
yes.
talking about. Yeah.
I like the sound of that very much because I think people, and you've also mentioned a word that I do rail against a bit called resale.
Mm,
Now, to me, resale is maybe a consideration if you're flipping something within 12 months. But for most of our clients who are investing quite a bit in professional design
mhm.
fees and then in the actual transformation itself, it's not in 12 months. And what I what I say to people is the emotion that you are planting in your home, it will grab at the emotion of a future buyer too. So don't
Oh,
ever think that, oh, I can't have the Gucci room and I can't paint it green because of resale. And I just say, I guarantee you, your home will have a massive lineup of people if
Mm-hmm.
and when the time comes to
Mm-hmm.
sell. And the uniqueness,
Will be what sells it.
it will be what sells it. And I think we do get drawn into sometimes not wanting to criticize real estate agents, but they do become preoccupied with stats like a 3x4 or a this or a that. Yet at the same time, all of them will say, if you ask them, what is the number one thing that will cause someone to buy a house? They'll say, because they fell in love with it. What they felt,
100%. It's
their emotion.
emotional. Yeah.
It's not, it may lack some things that they thought they wanted,
Yep.
yet they're still willing, they're getting into a bidding war
Uh-huh.
because of emotion.
Yep. I totally agree. It is, yeah, it is. People are emotional beings driven by emotion, and they make emotional decisions. When you give them something to be emotional about and engage their senses, you have an opportunity to go on a journey with them. When
Yeah,
you do the other, when it's emotionless, you don't get to polarize them or bring them on the journey.
yeah,
And I would far rather, and my clients, certainly we know this, the houses where we have done, not Gucci room, haven't done one of them yet, but a high emotion environment
yes,
versus the houses where we haven't. When those houses have been sold, the houses with the high emotion environment have polarized the buyers, and you'll have two or three fighting to own the house,
yes,
not the other way around.
yep. Couldn't
And
agree more.
that is just, it just stands out in spades,
Mm,
you
it
know,
does.
and so we buy on emotion, we make decisions on emotion.
Yep.
And so if we're not engaging people's emotions, then we are letting them down. And to
Mm,
make it vanilla so that it suits everybody is not the business we're in. We're in custom.
yeah. But also the vanilla that suits everybody actually suits no one.
Mm. That's just, yes, I'm with you. I'm with you.
You
It's crazy. I totally get you. I go, you lose what you could have gained because you didn't take it on a journey.
Yes, exactly.
I've got a couple more questions.
Great.
One is, I ask these of many, your favorite place in your own home, what emotion does it evoke and why?
Mm. So I live in a fairly small place, but my family also has a beach house, which is north
Mm-hmm.
of Perth. And my favourite place there is sitting on the veranda, looking out to the ocean. And, we've got a couple of fairly crappy chairs that are out on this
Mm-hmm.
veranda. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really care about them.
Mm-hmm.
All I care about is I can feel my soul there from my childhood. I'm looking out on a very, very ordinary Australian beach house aesthetic to
Mm-hmm.
my left and to my
Mm-hmm.
right. That's what I'm seeing. And I feel at home. And
It makes you feel at home and at peace. Is there any more to what that? Because it's telling me that there's security and tradition and journey and safety and the consistency of that journey. This
yeah,
place isn't going, like the old chairs, not we have to modernize it every 5 minutes, and it keeps life simple.
yes, I think that's it. I think that's it. So in my own home where I am now, yes, I have some really beautiful pieces of furniture. So I'm a big believer in obviously buy less,
Mm-hmm.
buy beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
buy
Of
well
course.
crafted. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got some designer pieces in my home for
Yep.
sure. But I also think that other places that evoke memories, the reason this place means so much to me is the fact that it's all about memory and what
Mm-hmm.
that conjures up for me in a feeling. And any
Mm.
place, it's nothing without feeling.
No, I agree. I'm totally with you. I go, It's not about the fanciest stuff. It's not about the newest thing. It's not about it being the biggest or the smallest or anything else. It's about the
Yes.
feelings and the emotions that it holds for you,
Yeah.
and how that gives you retreat and gives you security and gives you a space to breathe in and out. And I go, it's, yeah, magical, magical.
Mm.
Great answer. I did want to say, and I've had this, I want to say it lots of times to people, I said inside the house and you told me about the veranda. I love the fact that it was actually outside of the house,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you go back to the fact that, as humans, 1% of humanity, 1% of the time we've been on the earth has been in houses. We are so intrinsically attached to what's outside,
Yes.
and we're getting, let's say we are. I see a trend for us to be more fearful, more closed in, more contained, when I believe that our DNA is craving less contained, more freedom, control, and more self-surety.
Yes.
And I think that's a shift that design needs to respond to. I had a fascinating conversation the other day with Peter Stutchbury, who is,
Mm.
clearly one of Australia's best architects. And he was saying, the way architecture responds to culture and cultural times is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
And that was something that I was like, really good call. And it'll come out on the podcast when it comes out. But yeah,
Yeah.
just that
Yeah.
conversation. My other question, one last project, can't do any more. This is it. Got to choose one. What would you choose?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of ways I can answer that. So, my last project would always want to be a beautiful beach house, perhaps because of some of the things we've just
Mm,
discussed, right? So, this connection to landscape, to outdoors. And we hear this a lot from clients, and obviously it's become almost like a catchphrase of
yes,
our
it's
time.
like a,
Oh, I want
yeah,
that indoor outdoor connectivity.
yeah.
And I think actually what you're really saying is you just want to live as a human connected to Earth. Sorry, that sounds so
No, no,
basic, but
100% with
that's
you.
ultimately
Yeah.
ultimately what it is. And so that's one project that would be my last, Adrian. But even if I didn't get that project, and I think you know this about me now, that I would go out of this industry a happy person
Mm,
if I could change the way that our industry rolls out projects, how we appreciate and listen to our clients. If I can help with that piece, educate the industry. You and I are chatting now. We've had
yeah,
such a great chat about how design is a story.
yeah.
And that is something that I'm going to continue to press on with, because I feel that the voice of our client, I'm just sensing in all the processes and all the building and construction stuff I see around me, I'm still asking, where is the voice of the client? That's something I'm really passionate about. So I'm going to carry this, let's call it I don't know, let's call it a mission. That sounds really bad, as though,
I would say
you
this
know,
is your one last project. This
yeah,
is your
well,
one last
look,
project, and it will last you until you give up.
and I'm probably not
Probably your
going
last
to give
breath.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably your last breath.
probably. I mean, yeah, look,
And
I feel that deeply about it,
yeah.
that I'm going to continue to talk about it and encourage others to do the same until, as
Mm.
you say, until I run out of steam.
Yeah, look, I think, forget the beach house. You've got that. I think that the one last project is your design advocacy and your client advocacy of how do we serve clients deeply, not necessarily, complicatedly, but serve them deeply by hearing them.
Mm.
And it's a life's work.
It is. It is. And I'm actually, I don't know if you can feel it, I'm actually getting a bit emotional now
Mm.
that you've said this and I've said it. I can feel I've got real
Yeah.
emotion rising up in me, because I feel so strongly about this. And I would love our industry to open their ears a little bit, start
Yeah.
listening, and take the time, invest the time up front in this all important planning stage, which
Mm.
sounds pretty dull, but you and I think have
Mm. Mm.
demonstrated today, Adrian, that it's actually a whole heap of fun, and that's exactly what it should be.
It's actually the joy.
It's the joy.
Ju-
Yeah.
Early on in my podcasting, I met a guy called Jeffrey Dungan, and he's an amazing architect from Alabama. And I said to him, Jeffrey, you know, your clients, you must have some incredible, what did I say, incredible projects or something. We talked about clients, and I remember him saying they have the right kind of change. That meant they could afford what he wanted, or not what they wanted to
Right.
do.
Mm.
Anyway, and I thought that was a really poetic way of saying it. And then I said to him at some point in the podcast something like, you know, you must have some amazing projects or great projects or something like that. And he said, I do. He said, it's not about the projects, it's about the people. And with
Mm.
great people, great projects, there are great projects.
Yeah.
And I ran up to my wife afterwards and said, belting myself on the head. And she's like, what? And I'm smiling. And I said, oh my God, how long have I been in this damn industry? And I'm always looking for great projects. No longer. That's it. Over. Not looking for great projects ever again. I only look for great people. Project might be big, project might be small. Doesn't matter. I'm looking to work with great people.
Yep. Done. Sold. That's what
It,
we're here for. And that's
yep.
what you and I love doing, is engaging with people. We just happen to be
Yep.
in a business called interior design or
Yep.
design.
Yeah,
Yeah.
design. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, whether it be the building or the interior, it's like,
Right.
and the combination of those, and that is the goal is to nurture other people's lives and bring them joy.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
And we're very lucky that we get to do it,
And you're
right?
on a lifelong journey of it. We are
I know.
so
And so are
privileged
you.
that we get to do it. So
Oh,
privileged.
I'm
Yeah.
just so stoked that we got to chat today. Adrian, I
Me
didn't know
too.
where our conversation was going to take us, but I'm
Ah,
absolutely thrilled that we got to touch on some pretty well personal stuff, because that's
yeah.
the theme of what we're getting at.
I would love to do some more, and we should pick ourselves some subjects where we can do some, you know, short teachers on subjects,
Right.
and we'll put them on the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's come back and do more.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Jane, thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate it, and your gifts of sharing. It was beautiful, really
Thank you so
beautiful.
much.
Hey, have a great day. We'll
You
talk
also.
soon. Cheers, hon.
Bye.
Bye. Here we go. Jane, one of the things I wanted to do on the podcast, because you're also a podcaster, is I would love you to tell people where to find your podcast and what they can expect when they get there.
Yeah. Thanks, Adrian. So, my podcast is called Inside Design, and it can be found on Apple, Spotify,
Everywhere.
wherever people enjoy listening to podcasts. And it is called the podcast for interior design clients, which doesn't mean you have to be an existing client, but it's really anybody who is wondering or interested in what interior designers do and how we fold into the team of professionals that get a great project implemented. So listeners can expect to hear, I guess, there's some truth and guts in there, Adrian.
I
I'm
know there
talking
is. I've
about,
listened.
you know, that I talk about fees, I talk about how much projects cost, because I want to be transparent about that information.
Yes.
And I felt that while there are a lot of podcasts out there about design as a subject, I couldn't really hear anyone specifically talking to people on the outside looking in
Right.
about what it's all about. How does it work? What are you going to charge us? How much does a kitchen cost, for example?
Yes.
That kind of
Yes.
thing. And so I really am getting quite honest and quite open and transparent about this stuff for people who might be wondering.
I love it. I love it. Well, there you go, guys. It is called. Where's my?
Inside
Wait,
design.
I was just looking for my note on my pad, and
That's
I
okay.
wanted to say it properly. Inside design, and it says for interior design clients. If you're an interior designer, by all means, go and listen. If you're an interior designer and taking somebody down an interior design journey and this podcast resonates with you, get your clients to listen to it and take your learnings and give the client the learnings as well, and then create your best journey. It's a great resource.
Great. Thanks a lot, Adrian.
Cheers, Jane. Thanks for sharing that.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into our conversation. I hope it left you both informed and inspired. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And please don't hesitate to share your design thoughts with me. It's always a joy to hear from you. If you're like me and crave a deeper dive into design thinking, coupled with a love for travel and adventure, consider one of my architectural adventures. Join me and some of my wonderful design friends and embark on a journey of a lifetime. Apply for an unforgettable design experience at adrianramsey.com. With our clients spanning the globe, I firmly believe behind every great project are great people. If you're a great person and seeking to turn your dream into a reality, I'd be honored to design your home with you. Why not join the ranks of our exceptional clients? And let's make your heart sing. Reach out to me at studio@ardesignhouse.com. That's studio@ardesignhouse.com. And let's get a conversation going and make your heart sing.